Hey, what is up? Kate the Great here. Welcome back to my channel. It's really nice to have you here. Today I'm going to go over how to lose fat. Not lose weight, fat. People wanting to lose body fat is so common, and I work with so many people where their main goal is fat loss. They're always like,
how do I lose body fat? What's the secret? What's the tea?
But the thing is, I can guarantee you that you probably already know. We're fed so much information, but you really know what it takes. But the obstacle is that you probably haven't been able to stick with the plan that you laid out for yourself, not keeping yourself accountable, not having anyone to keep you accountable, not motivating yourself, not really using your why as the drive behind the motivation to get it done. Which is probably how you ended up here in this video with me. I mean, so many of us have been told you need to eat less than probably what you're eating now, and you need to exercise. And by exercise, I mean strength train and not doing endless amounts of cardio. Cardio. No! Doing endless amounts of cardio is such a myth. But I will get into that later. Eating less and exercise are general tips that I have for you, which again, you probably already know. What I wanna do is dive a little deeper, head first into the deep end, talking about misconceptions, myths, lies, everything out there swirling around like a tornado. No. I'm also gonna give you tips and tricks that you can wrap on up, take to go, and then use them in a plan that works for you. These concepts are very simple, and you'll know what I mean when we get there, but they are so hard to execute. Creating a plan, a schedule, a new routine of habits that works best for you. Not me, not them, you. We all have different schedules, abilities, habits. Things change, things evolve, routines in our lives change, so we have to create a plan that's adaptable so that you can always evolve to whatever's coming at you next. And you can say to yourself, okay, I'm fine because I've laid down these general guidelines for me to follow. Something to remember is that these are general guidelines, general tips and tricks for people to follow. However, this is where I step in. I work one-on-one with people to create that plan for you, the one that I was saying that's only for you, a plan for you to execute properly, hold yourself accountable. I will keep you accountable. I will motivate you and work with you to get you those results, to get what you want. I mean, why not do everything you can to get the results you want? And I can help you. What I want you to do is click the link in the description. It'll pop you over to me and we can have a little chit chat about how this works for you. We can get you set up, get you moving and grooving. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe down below. It really helps out to support me, and also so that you can always refer back to these videos. Come back, learn more tips and tricks. All right, let's go. Here we go into the misconceptions, myths, lies, all of that. I'm gonna go through each one, and then I'm going to give you the tips and the tricks, my advice for what you should do with that particular piece of the puzzle. Myth number one, doing loads and loads of cardio. No. You do not need to do endless amounts of cardio to lose fat. Now, we're specifically talking about losing fat. Keep that in mind, because I'm going to be making statements that it's like, what? What are you saying? I was told to do this, but this does this. Yes. There's so many different paths that people can take. There's so many different goals, but I'm specifically talking about fat loss. So doing cardiovascular conditioning training is not a bad thing. It's something that you should do. It's good to work your heart, work on increasing the strength of your heart, increasing your cardiovascular endurance. But when we're specifically talking about fat loss, you do not need to be on the treadmill for like an hour. You don't need to be running miles and miles and miles. It's not the answer. The answer is strength training. I want you to strength train at least 2 to 3 times a week, and I want you to make it heavy, like heavy. Strength training heavy is something that I always say, I always preach it out there, but I'm putting it in air quotes because one, I love air quotes, and two, because I don't mean like loading on hundreds of pounds. You don't have to be lifting just as much as that other person that you see over there lifting. You have to lift heavy for you, whether that's body weight, 2 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 100, 500. Everyone's at different levels. Heavy means something different to everyone. When you're strength training, I want your goal to be muscle hypertrophy, aka muscle growth. You know, building up the muscles. The more muscle you have, you will increase your metabolism, and then you will be able to burn more throughout the day, throughout your daily activities of living, and then training your body to adapt to the resistance that you're loading on. So your body, after a workout, a heavy workout, is like, wow, that was really heavy. I have to recover and adapt because Kate's gonna load it on next time. That brings us into a concept called progressive overload. I want you to progress the loading on of resistance over a period of time that's safe and efficient. The rep range of muscle hypertrophy is 8 to 12. There's like a huge myth swirling around that you have to do lighter weights, higher reps. No. 8 to 12 reps, you're good to go. Do as heavy as you can within that range. Don't have the weight too light where you can do like 14, 15, 20 reps. 12 is the max. Playing off of that, when you are strength training, whether you are already along your strength training path or you are just starting out, I always advise people to really get down these foundational moves, I call them. I actually have a video that I will pop up right there where I break down and demo 5 moves that are must-do moves that I want you to do to lay down that foundation for you to progressively overload. Something that I constantly hear is, Kate, I'm gonna get too bulky. What if I get too bulky? I don't wanna get bulky, I don't wanna look like that. People getting bulky from strength training is such a myth. It's so common for people to say, well, that person has a lot of muscles and they strength train, but I don't want to have as big of muscles that they have, which is fine, you know, to each their own. But what people fail to notice is that that person who has those muscles that you don't want, which again is fine, took them years, so much work to get there. And what's so cool about the body is this concept called you move it or lose it. So if you get to a point where you're like, you know, I'm pretty good with my muscle size, you can stop. Literally stop lifting heavy. You can stop right there and just cruise with that weight. That will bring you more into the maintenance side of strength training where you stick within that range. If it's way too much and you want to decrease your muscles more but still want to lift, just go down where you were at your heaviest. Trust me, lift heavy. Going back to the cardio side of things, if you would like to do cardio, like you're like, I need to do it, you can totally do it. I would suggest doing some sort of interval training, or people like to call it HIIT, high intensity interval training. My advice is to do it 2 to 3 times a week at most. That at most is key. You do not want to be overtraining, overusing anything. You need to give yourself time to recover. Misconception and myth number 2 is drastically cutting calories. A caloric deficit is a necessity to losing fat. However, so many people will just say, oh yeah, I'll just cut all of this. Like hundreds and hundreds and maybe like 1,000 calories people cut out. No, think of food as fuel. Your fuel for your body to recover, to adapt, to grow. You do not want to be cutting it short. If you are too low with your caloric intake, or if you're all over the place, maybe you're really low one day, maybe you're at a maintenance one day, maybe you're overeating another day, your body will be like, oh my gosh, I'm so confused. What is our plan? What is our goals? What am I supposed to be doing? Am I using this for fuel? Am I storing it because they never feed me? You see what I mean? The caloric deficit is a number that you should aim to hit, not below, not above. Have you ever heard of in versus out? It's a very common thing that's thrown out there. I mean, I throw it out. It's the concept of burning more than you are taking in. But again, not too little taking in. You have to figure out what your maintenance caloric intake is and then go into a deficit from there. If you need help with that, contact me, I can help you out. Of course, I got you. A little sidebar piece of advice. When you are eating, aim to eat foods that are high volume but low calories. That will actually help you feel fuller so that you don't feel like you're starving after. And then when you go to have your next meal, your body's not just like, oh my gosh, I need to eat all this in half seconds. Trust me, it works. Moving on into misconception / myth number 3. The concept of people feeling like they need to die or end a workout completely exhausted. No. I mean, I love a good killer workout, don't get me wrong. I love doing huge compound circuits, lifting heavy, pushing a car. All of that is so great to do. However, it does not need to be done every single day. That will lead to overtraining, overuse, injuries. You don't want that. Like I mentioned earlier, high intensity interval training is under that loop, and you do not need to be doing that more than 2 to 3 times a week. You have to give your body time to recover. Make sure you're getting proper rest. Tips for recovery are, like I had mentioned, giving yourself rest days, like actually taking the rest days, sleeping enough each night, learning and figuring out ways to manage your stress levels, which I understand is such a hard thing, but you have to figure out what works best for you. Trial and error. You must do things that you love to do. You should do deep breathing. I have a method 5-5-5. 5-second inhale, 5-second hold, 5-second exhale, and I like to say 10 breaths a day can go a long way. Just saying. And lastly, I want you to work on your mobility, learning to increase your range of motion, getting and teaching your body to learn to move in more of an optimal and functional way. That will help and translate a lot into your strength training. And lastly, I'm going to leave you with some little extra tips, like a bargain. Who doesn't love a good bargain? These are things that you probably know deep down, except I'm gonna be the one to tell you. Number 1, nothing in life is easy. That is such a well-known concept. I mean, we're all told that. Nothing in life is easy. It's the difference between listening and absorbing the information versus, I'm just not gonna listen to that because it's too hard. Number 2, getting the right mindset is everything. You have to go into this knowing that it's going to be hard. I mean, if it was easy, don't you think we would already be there by now? It's trial and error, ups and downs, but you'll get there, I promise. Number 3, consistency is key. I feel like that is such a thing that is said with everything. I feel like that can just go across the board with your whole entire life. Everything that I've mentioned today, consistency is key with. And the last tip, number 4, is to find someone and listen to their advice that you trust. I'm that person for a lot of people, which is great, and I'm very honored, and I appreciate you listening to me and taking my advice. But there's so much false info out there and people who don't know what they're saying that are, again, feeding us all of these myths and misconceptions. Find someone you trust, listen to their advice, stick with them, stay on track. And we are done! Those are all the misconceptions, myths, tips, and tricks that I have for you today. If you need to rewind, watch them all back, take them in, go for it. These are tips that actually work, not all that mumbo jumbo out there. And trust me, I get it. I've been on this fat loss train for some time. But if you're consistent, you stay on your path, listen to people who know what they're talking about, you will be okay. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it so much. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye!